Hey everyone, in today's video, instead of it being an implant video, because there's quite a lot in this update, including changes to implants, we're going to be going through the patch notes for the upcoming patch that will be going live on the 20th of December 2023. I am not going to be going through this completely verbatim, so do not worry. This is not going to be the equivalent of a text-to-speech video. But I will be going through the patch notes and identifying what stands out the most, what's the most interesting, what to look forward to. And hopefully, whilst you're waiting for the maintenance period tomorrow to come to an end, you can maybe listen to this video just to get an idea of what's coming. So let's start with, of course, the region briefing. So we are getting the Kalevala Expanse. For some of you that are unaware, the Kalevala Expanse has been available in EVE Echoes on the Chinese server for well over a month now, and it proved to be a somewhat more controversial update, mainly because of the new flight mechanics involved and how you could pilot the ship using thumb controls, and there were other aspects to it. It does not seem, having had a glance through the update so far during my break times, it does not seem that we actually have these thumb controls in this particular patch. I suspect that the reason why we've got it so much later than the Chinese server is because they wanted to take out all of the bad controversial stuff, because the Chinese players tend to be a lot more accepting of these new features than we are. So if they're not accepting of it, it'd probably be hell if they gave it to us. I could be completely wrong about that. In 24 hours time when you watch this video and the patch is already live, I could be proved wrong. We could have the thumb control mechanics in the game for flying around in Kalevala Expanse. We'll see what happens in that regard. But anyway, we have the Kalevala Expanse, and it is accessed in a similar manner to Cobalt Edge. Only this time, instead of using wormholes, we are using the new filaments. I've forgotten exactly what they're called now. Needlejack, Spatial Rift filaments. We'll see the names as we go through this video. But again, we have 69 new solar systems being released, spread out across 10 constellations. These are all going to be nullsec, and they are not interconnected, the constellations. Just like with Cobalt Edge, the solar systems are all connected together within their respective constellations, but the constellations themselves are spread out and not connected, so you can't move between them. Except maybe with Black Ops. We'll see how that works. But anyway, let's move along, shall we? The region is controlled by Waste Seekers. Again, just like with Cobalt Edge, nothing to be mentioned there. Capsuleers can use Spatial Rift filaments to construct routes to enter or leave the Kalevala Expanse. There's more about these Spatial Rift filaments further into the patch notes. Again, just as I've just explained, the Stargates... The Stargates work how I've just explained it all. However, the Kalevala Expanse is split up into different areas, and this becomes relevant when it comes to using the new filaments that are used in order to access. And I'm just going to shift my chair to the side of it so slightly, because I keep using both hands, but one of them is like always off camera. It's knowing where to sit. I need to change the camera around a little bit. But anyway, we have the Western constellations, where the enemies are small Waste Seeker fleets. The Southern constellations, where you're going to encounter medium and small Waste Seeker fleets. And of course, you're going to have 4 constellations in the northern area. Or am I reading that right? Anyway, you'll have the constellations in the northern area, which will be the most dangerous ones. So depending on which filaments you use, you could end up in a southern, western or northern Kalevala Expanse constellation. Western have the easiest anomalies to run, which will be the lowest risk ones. Southern are slightly more difficult. Northern is where the most difficult stuff is going to be. And of course, risk versus reward, we can probably expect the northern one to be where all of the money is. Now, there are no structures available this time around. In Cobalt Edge, when Cobalt Edge went live, there was an NPC station provided to us straight off the bat that we could all go straight to and dock up in and enjoy the game straight off the bat. And furthermore, for those of us that are in larger alliances, we had the opportunity to be able to drop our own outposts or even corporation citadels. Don't mind me, I'm just playing with the lighting here so I don't get a tiny little green haze behind me. Just trying to get the settings just right without me lighting up like a Christmas tree. I think I'll have to do with that for now. But carrying on, where I was going with that is in Cobalt Edge we have stations. We have one NPC station and stations that we can anchor ourselves. As it stands at the moment in Kalevala, there are going to be no NPC stations and no opportunity for us to anchor anything. It says as much here. Capsuleers cannot anchor any structures. That may change in the future, but for now, that's what it says. It does not have a broadcast management center, which is its way of saying you can't see local. There's still a local chat, just like Cobalt Edge, whereby you can type in there and say boo before jumping to another system. But you can't see who's in local. You can't even see how many people are in the local area. Again, it's about increasing the risk and making it a bit more exciting and dynamic over there. The bit I find the most interesting bit here, and of course I didn't bring my notes with me, I left them on my desk at work, but what I find the most interesting bit about these patch notes is this line here. I'm just going to scroll down so we can see it at the very top. Capsuleers cannot obtain standings. They can only recognise fleet members and contacts. All other individuals will not display standings. I like this bit. This means blue on blue. If I'm understanding this correctly, when you're flying around in the Kalevala Expanse, because of course you're not going to be able to see standings in the local window because there will be no local window. So I can only presume this means in the main overview, you know, where pilots show up in your PvP overview. I would suspect that every single player that's blue to you because they're in a friendly corporation or alliance, is automatically going to be neutral unless you have personally set that individual as blue or in a fleet with them. So there's going to be a lot of blue on blue in here if I'm interpreting this correctly. That could be quite interesting to see how that goes diplomacy-wise going forwards, especially if people don't know straight off the bat that blue on blue will be a thing in the Kalevala Expanse. We won't have to worry about blue donuts controlling that area, will we? Because people won't even know who's blue to them going in. So, of course, I really like that particular bit. Of course, Capsuleers may choose to broadcast their own local messages, basically saying boo in local chat just to scare people. I'm always going to use that as the example. Or resources. Same as Cobalt Edge. Not really much to mention here. Same as Cobalt Edge, we even get the C70 gas. As it stands, Cobalt Edge is probably the better place to go and get that ore, especially considering you don't need to consume a resource like the new filaments. And you can actually have more people in there to support you because you're not limited to 4 or 5 people going in a wormhole with you. Hell, you can even anchor a structure in there. So I'd highly recommend doing the mining in Cobalt Edge from what I've seen so far. But moving on, planetary resources, that's not worth looking at. It's basically telling you that there's no reason to do your planetary resources in there. The Waste Seeker Centrums. This appears to be the equivalent of your regular base, your NPC base that you'd get in every other Empire system. Whereby, in fact, I'm not entirely sure if base is the right way to describe it. But what it is it's an anomaly that's in every single one of these systems. And I suspect that when you clear it, it'll automatically respawn in that system, maybe. I don't know. It is composed of multiple sites within the anomaly that are all connected by the acceleration gates. They're protected by elite advanced waste seeker drones, and I suspect you're probably not going to be able to do them solo, judging by the wording that they've put in here. Another bit that caught my interest here is after defeating the enemies in certain sectors, some unanalyzed relics will become accessible, allowing capsuleers to aim to obtain the usual stuff. Unanalyzed relics. Does that mean that they're going to be boxes that we cannot open without exploration modules? that would be interesting if that is the case, because that means you've got one less E-War mod, well, one less mid slot, sorry, to assign E-War. Again, I'm guessing here it could be just a really bad choice of words, but I'm kind of hoping that this is implying you need those exploration mods to open the crates. Kind of hoping here. But let's move on to these spatial rifts. So, of course, new spatial rift filaments, just like the needle jacks, have been developed exclusively for getting us into this new system, into the new, not system, what's the word again? Region, the Kalevala Expanse. This entire video is about the Kalevala Expanse, and I've already started to forget the word, the name. Ah, well, anyway, it's all fun and games. It literally is a fun and game. So, we have new filaments available. We have the Expedition Spatial Rift. This one allows us to bring a fleet of up to 4 ships into the Kalevala Expanse with you. The ships that you can bring with you vary depending on the size of the filament. So we have small, medium and large for small ships, medium ships and large ships. Again, it mostly, I suspect it will tally with the type of weapons that you'd have on these ships. So small ships will be your frigates and destroyers, medium ships, your cruisers and battle cruisers, large will be battleships. I don't believe we can get capital ships in there. We'll see if there's any mention of it. Here we are, yeah. It says for the large one that it is battleships or ships of a lower tonnage. So you can't bring capital ships in, which is good. And it is also worth noting that the small one takes you into the western constellations, the easier ones. The medium one takes you into the southern constellation, where you can encounter the small and medium sites. And the large one takes your battleships into the northern constellation, where the bigger ones are. So I think the best way to relate this with the EVE Online Big Brother counterpart, as it were, would be, what are they called? It'll come back to me. I did a fair few of them last year when I was... Abyssals. There we go. In Abyssals, you could go either on your own or as a fleet, and they were kind of like size gated. And of course the difficulty kind of scaled accordingly. I'm summarising it really badly, but this is not an Abyssals tutorial, so it doesn't matter. But I'm quite liking this here, because you've got small ship content, medium ship content and large ship content. You cannot go into the small ship content with a large ship, or at least you can't hear from what we've seen so far. So I'm quite liking what we're seeing here. You can literally just choose what sort of tonnage of ship you want to go in with. So yeah, I'm quite liking it, but let's move along because, oh hello, I'm knocking my tablet over. Yeah, by the way, I'm using the tablet again, tethering it to the computer, and I'm knocking things over, which is always good on a video. So, Spatial Rift Filament 2, or Mark 2, however we prefer to refer to it. I'm just going to call it the Mark 2 for now, because it'll be easier. So the large Mark 2 is only for one ship, and it's improved from its basic model, available in limited quantities, only suitable for one battleship or ship of lower tonnage. This is going to be the interesting one then, so you can only bring in one ship. It can break through the environmental restrictions of the southern constellation and can lead to a random system in the southern or northern. So this is how you'll be able to bring a larger ship into the southern constellation, where you can do the small and medium anomalies. Yeah, that kind of breaks up what I just said about there being exclusive small ship content, but let's carry on. Let's have a look at the Mark III for the large one, which again is for a solo ship. At least it's balanced out by the fact that you can either go in to that one with 5 cruisers. Is it 5 or 4? I'm already forgetting numbers. 4. So you can either go into the southern constellation with 4 cruisers or smaller, well, battle cruisers or smaller, or 1 battleship. So at least there's a bit of a balancing act there. If you want to take a bigger ship, you have to go on your own. You can't bring friends with you. Unless you get exceptionally lucky when you all use your own ones and you happen to spawn next door to each other. There is that. But moving on to the Mark III, with a stronger breakthrough ability, it can move to a random system in the Kalevala Expanse and is the hardest to obtain. So what this is saying is it can also bring you to the... I knocked my table, then everything kind of shook. So it can take you to the western one as well, where the smallest and probably easiest anomalies are. But this will be the most difficult one to obtain. From what I'm seeing, it is not stating what the size limit of the ship is. So I would suspect that this is the one you will be using if you want to bring through a capital ship. It doesn't state that there needs to be that it can do a capital ship, but it's the only one that doesn't cite a ship hull size restriction. So we're going with that for now. For now, that'll be the one you can go in with a capital ship until I'm proven wrong when the update goes live. So here is an interesting thing to mention here. Due to the environmental effects and technological limitations of the Kalevala Expanse, the Expedition Spatial Rift filaments can only be used when no other cargo is loaded in the ship's cargo hold. I can only presume that this is inclusive of the special holds, such as the structure hold, to prevent us from being able to take structures in and anchor them. So this could be an interesting one. We can't take in excess fuel with us. We can't... To be fair, what would we take in there with us? I'm not entirely sure. Apart from needle jacks, for example, to try and use as a quick escape to bypass the existing escape mechanism. I don't know what we'd want to take in there in our cargo holds, but as it stands, you can't take anything in with your cargo hold anyway. So I don't even know why I'm speculating in my head what we'd want to take in with us. Anyway, let's move along. How can we obtain these? Destroying Waste Seeker drones in Cobalt Edge or the Kalevala Expanse. So we might see an uptick in activity in Cobalt Edge. We can get them again by scanning relic sites across New Eden. So we might see an uptick in exploration. I know I certainly will be doing a little bit more exploration this week. I rarely explore as it is, probably once every week and a half. I need to do more exploration, especially considering all of the new stuff that comes out at the moment is going into sites such as exploration sites. Inquisitor and Scout anomalies, that will keep people who do plenty of PvE quite happy, because one of the most common suggestions in the Eve Echoes Discords tends to be stuff like, can you make these anomalies profitable again? And of course, some of them, depending on how lucky you are, they can be extremely profitable or just not worth doing. But as it stands, more stuff in these. That is always something worth not complaining about, I guess. How to obtain, we can also purchase them for a limited time with ISK. So we have another ISK sync in the game. I'm not complaining about ISK syncs because it draws people away from bumping up the Plex prices. It's a Plek or Plex, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right then. This is what happens when I talk really quickly. I either merge words together or I just say it completely incomplete and hope that everybody understands what I'm saying. Yay, welcome to the life of being a YouTuber. 18 minutes on into the video, let's keep on moving before I lose my voice. So the Homeward Spatial Rift filaments, these are how we escape from the Kalevala Expanse. So yeah, there are two ways out of the Kalevala Expanse. We can either lose our ship and self-destruct our pod, in which case we go back to our base station, back outside of Kalevala, or if we've managed to get around enough and loot plenty of sites, our ship is still intact, we use these spatial rifts to get back out again. Now, of course, we were told going into the Kalevala Expanse that we can't take anything in with us in our cargo holds. Not even these, which are our escape ropes. We have to find these inside of the Kalevala Expanse itself if we want to get out with the loot that we've actually found. So let's have a look and see how we obtain these. We can obtain them by destroying Waste Seeker drones in the Kalevala Expanse. We can obtain them from loot crates in the Waste Seeker Centrum. That's the one with the acceleration gates that I did a poor job of explaining earlier. And yeah, they cannot be traded or be reprocessed for the time being. So they are literally just single-time use escape ropes to get us out of the Kalevala Expanse. And yes, I'm using escape ropes as a callback to the old Pokemon games. because that is the closest analogy I have to them. But we do have a couple of different ones here. We have the Homeward Spatial Rift filament, the Homeward 1, and the Homeward 1 Mark II. Again, same Mark II, just to abbreviate it all. What's interesting here is the first one can directly return to a random system within the major empires after use. I don't know if it's talking about HiSec or the entire game, because it tends to refer to nullsec, lowsec, and HiSec as empire space. So I suspect this will probably drop you anywhere else in the game except for Cobalt Edge, which could be really interesting. Just imagine going into the Kalevala Expanse, getting like, I don't know, 1 billion Zisks worth of loot, coming back out again and dropping, say, 50 jumps behind enemy territory, and just not knowing how the hell to get back to HiSec. That could be an interesting scenario if that actually happens to you. Let's have a look at the second one, the Homeward 1 Spatial Rift filament. In order to break through environmental restrictions, it can stably construct a route around a star, which takes a long time. The next one, under certain environmental conditions within the Waste Seeker Centrum, again within that specific anomaly, the route can be quickly completed. Remember what I said earlier about me merging words together? That's what just happened right there. Using it around stars takes a longer time, so you have to use this one exclusively in the Waste Seeker Centrum. These don't talk about ship class restrictions, because of course we're talking about getting out, not in. But they don't say where they're going to drop you, so I'm really hoping that they drop you anywhere in the game, just to encourage more conflict and more destruction and so on, because that's what this game ultimately needs, isn't it? So how do we obtain them? I've already gone through that, haven't I? This is what happens when I go forwards and then backwards again. So maybe the Kalevala Expanse doesn't interest you at all. Maybe you're not really interested in the whole risk versus reward scenario. Well, if you've made it this far into the video, don't worry, we still have stuff for you. So we have new content alongside it. First up, we have the Capital Stasis Grappler. This is a stasis webifier that is exclusive to capital ships. And how this one works is the longer that it is locked onto a target and it's slowing it down, the more it slows the target down. And in addition to that effect, the closer the target gets to you, the slower it goes. So the longer you're holding onto it and the closer you are to it, the slower the enemy ship goes. You can only fit one of them, so yeah, you can't go completely overboard with it. But pair this with a stasis webifier or two, the enemy ship's probably not going to move very fast if they're foolish enough to get within range. Again, we don't know the specific attributes for this just yet, but we will know when the update goes live. So how do we obtain it? We get the blueprint from Capital Ship Rifts and Capital Ship Proving Grounds to manufacture it. So those are capital specific sites that I do not believe I've ever actually ran. Yes, I am a proud capital ship owner that has never actually ran the overwhelming majority of the capital ship anomalies and sites and specials and whatever else you want to call them. Yeah, I'm a really bad example of a capital ship pilot. So, if you have a Starbeat Nano Core, you get an appearance update. Yippee! I'm not going to go through that. So, this is also, this balance update is one of the reasons why this video is happening instead of me just ignoring the patch notes and doing an implant video. Pretty much all of the implants, well, maybe not all of them, but a good healthy majority of them are getting a balance adjustment. Some of them are minor, it's just about the durability consumption going up or down, mostly up from what I've seen. But there are other things that are getting a few tweaks here and there, including remote armor, which I was halfway through writing the script for the next implant tutorial. So of course now I've got to wait for this update to go live before I carry on with the script, because there's no point uploading a video that's out of date within about 2 hours. yeah, it's just silly. But again, if you want to have a look to see if your favourite implant is on this list with a balance adjustment, feel free to pause the video, go backwards a bit, or check the actual in-game announcements yourself. There we go, merging words again. But aside from implants, we also have adjustments to the Astero, the Stratios, and the Nestor, where they get a new bonus, Spatial Rift route construction time. They can get out of the Kalevala Expanse 25% faster than other ships. So that just means you're less exposed to other ships in the Expanse when you're trying to get out. So that's not a bad thing. Added the capital ship class Stasis Grappler to the loot crates. Yeah, we don't need to know about that. It's already told us about that earlier. Capacity consumption for constructing a Spatial Rift route has been reduced from 95% to 75%. So you're not going to use up all of your capacitor anymore when you use a needle jack. You're going to use up just most of it instead. So it's easier to use your needle jacks now. Structures within the Corporation battlefield have been adjusted to be non-repairable. I have no idea what that means. None at all. We have a new advanced implant unit. Now, most of this makes no sense to me whatsoever. We're going to have to wait to see how it pans out in-game. But what it seems to be is another way of upgrading the quality of our implants. Again, I don't really understand it. I've read it through a couple of times. We have new implant units, 16 qualities of them, with the highest version being quality 5.0. They do a unique thing for each and every one of the implants to make them even better than they were before, as if they needed to be better. Again, it's given us a couple of examples here on what the changes are for the focus crystal, the barrage repression, tactical missile, mining enhancement. Those are just examples, and then it tells us if we want to find out more, check out the market in-game after this patch goes live. Again, I don't really understand how these implants are going to be upgraded and how it's all going to be treated, but we have new ways to improve our implants. So that's going to be interesting, especially considering I've only just got my focus crystal up to level 30 for when I eventually get around to doing Dormant Realm 2 Abysses again. I don't do them often enough. So anyway, how do we obtain these? Obtained from the loot in the Wayseeker Centrum, so the new Kalevala Expanse content. So we have something new and exciting and shiny to go into Kalevala Expanse to go and grab, which is exactly what we need. We can upgrade to the higher versions of these weird implant upgrades through reverse engineering. So again, something for the indie guys to do. That's always good. And for a limited time, we can purchase these with ISK or Aurum in the event store. Again, at least it's a limited time and we have a new ISK sync. I know we'll be extremely limited on what we can buy with raw ISK, but at least we'll have a new ISK sync temporarily. Implant unit reprocessing. General units, this is a suggestion that's probably been put on the Eve Echoes Discord an upteen number of times, but we finally have it. Those general units that we struggle to sell on the market because nobody wants them, like the level 1 ones, that are probably worth 500,000 ISK. We can now reprocess them into materials that are then used for this new implant upgrading system. So yippee, they have use again. In fact, the value of some of them might even go up now they actually have value. New event, Ego Traverse. I can't remember which the Ego Traverse was. Definitely going to have to do a video on this one, just so I've got something to reference when I go and backtrack in the future. I'm hoping Ego Traverse is the one where we get to custom fit our own ships and test them completely risk-free in a PvP scenario. I think that's what the Ego Traverse one was. I could quite easily be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll be corrected in tomorrow's update when we actually see it. New arrivals, another update. Oh, and it is worth looking at the timestamps for these updates. So Ego Traverse is going on until the 31st of January. New arrivals is going on until the 10th of January. And we are seeing some lucky boxes with the new advanced units in them. Voyage nano cores with showing off the micro eject button. Yeah, so just somewhere to spend money, I guess. The Navigator program is back. That's where you top up for 500 Aurum, and for the next 30 days you get even more skill points than you would prefer. And if you are a lower SP pilot, you get a lot more SP than those of us that are older players, which means it's better value for money if you're a new player. Conversely, if you want to set up a new alt, it's probably the best time to do it, because that's the fastest opportunity you're going to get all of those skill points in. It's kind of how it's scaled. I might do a video on that just for future reference. Again, that ends on the 8th of January. That's not 30 days. Be interesting. That could be just a typo. So moving on. Nanocore update. Some of the older series of nanocores can now be upgraded to AI. You can look at that if you're interested. We have our optimizations. The market valuation. I don't even know why I'm trying to read that one. My brain's starting to go to sleep now. 30 minutes. I don't do videos that are 30 minutes long, do I, guys? Let's be honest. As you can tell, I'm probably losing my voice. I wonder how well me losing my voice actually picks up on the microphone. But anyway, optimize the hint that covert sinusoidal field generators cannot be used after decloaking. Yes, I am reading this verbatim now, because we don't have paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of text to get through. Optimize the display arrangement of the implant interface. I think this is something the guys on the Echoes of New Eden podcast were on about a week or two back. As we start adding more and more implants, the current implant navigation system where we just side scroll isn't really all that efficient, especially if we keep on adding more and more and more implants, because we'll just be infinitely scrolling sideways. What we want is to be able to see 4 or 5 implants side by side and then scroll down to the next row. So that could be how they're laying it out. Again, we'll see in the update. During the construction of the Spatial Rift route, the progress will be displayed around the route. During the construction of the Spatial Rift route, entering a station or bastion. Interesting choice of words there, bastion. That probably just means capsuleer outpost or smaller station. We'll also cancel the registration. Remember guys, if you fly outside of range of the needle jacks or the Spatial Rift filaments or whatever you want to call them, you do not jump with the rest of the fleet. You just end up being exempt and you end up staying behind. Remember, that happened to me in the video. Just quite entertaining. The fleet now offers a quick disband feature, so you can quickly disband it without each individual member having to click leave fleet themselves. That'll come in handy after completing the Dormant Realm, I guess, because that is mostly when it happens to me. Again, I don't take part in fleets often enough. The fleet can now pin bulletins to the top. I don't know what that means, because obviously I don't go in fleets often enough. This is one that caught my interest when I was reading the patch notes at work. Fixed the issue where the Sci-Fi could not enter HiSec when using the Sun Chaser navigation system. Now, I did not know, and of course I don't have a Sci-Fi nanocore and I've never looked at the Sci-Fi nanocores, so I don't actually know what's available. But I did not know the Sci-Fi had the option to use the Sun Chaser navigation jump system. But then again, that jump system is kind of redundant. It's redundant by every other feature in the game, including regular stargates. They really need to do something to the Sun Chaser navigation system. I've actually done a ramble a long time ago about it, because I really wanted the Sun Chaser navigation system to essentially become Black Ops. It had the potential, but they never fleshed it out. They never buffed it and made it relevant. But yeah, I don't know what I was going to say then. As I said, my brain is starting to go to sleep. So, fix the lighting issue with some Neon Rain core capital ships. Okay, so small graphical tweaks there. Fix the issue where the full salvo skill of the artillery cover implant could potentially cause less damage. Okay, again, these are bug fixes. Most of this doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Fix the issue where the high power coil implant could potentially gain more than 10 points of power per attack. God, that would be deadly, wouldn't it? But anyway, that is the entire patch notes, and it is quite a hefty video. I am glad I had all of this time tonight to be able to do this video. Normally, I don't have this much time straight after work. I just load up the implant, not the implant script. There we go, I'm forgetting words. Usually I just get home from work, open up the script that I've usually finished at the weekend, go through it with as much energy as I can, you know, like pull out of the reserve tank, and then get on to editing with some lovely music on in the background. So this is certainly different, very different. But anyway, that about rounds up the patch notes video for this week. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to this one. I am mostly interested to see if we get a edited version of the Kalevala Expanse, whereby we don't get as much as the Chinese server. I'm interested to see if they've actually responded to the negative feedback that they had on the Chinese server, and see if they've taken all of the negative attributes out for us. It would be interesting, because it would mean for like the first time, us getting things after the Chinese server would actually prove to be in our advantage. Again, if that doesn't happen to be the case and we get the thumb controls, that could prove interesting anyway. I'd certainly love to give that a go. I'd certainly be more than happy to jump in a nice small ship and see how that pans out. But anyway, I'm going to cut the ramble there. Let us know in the comment section below if there's anything in this particular update that gets you all excited. And if you're watching this video long after the patch and there is an assumption I've made that is miles off course, feel free to correct me in the comment section below, just so that people know what to expect going into this. Of course, when the dust is settled and we all know exactly what is going on in the Kalevala Expanse and I've had an opportunity to record some footage, there will be a guide video of some sort going up. I can't say when the guide video will be going live, because of course Christmas is just around the corner. Between the fact that I'm still going into work over Christmas and all of the family get-togethers, I honestly don't know how I'm going to be doing for content. I know I have some videos queued up just to keep the channel active, but yeah, we'll see when we get the Kalevala Expanse videos in. I am hoping to get them in, and I promise I'll be doing that at the earliest opportunity. But for the second time, I'll cut the ramble there. Thanks again for watching, everyone. If you haven't already subscribed and you want to stay tuned for any updates on Kalevala Expanse and potential tutorials, feel free to hit that subscribe button. But until the next video, fly safe, fly casual, fly dangerous, whatever works for you. And Merry Christmas if I don't do another video before then. Fly safe, fly casual. I've gone through all that, haven't I? Yeah, my brain's going. See ya, guys.